Hi, everyone. I'm Marion Mead, Chair of Mental Health Professionals Ottawa. We're a volunteer organization, and we've been serving the mental health professionals community for close to 40 years through networking and quality professional development. And today I'm delighted to be interviewing Elliott Connie and Adam Froerer, respected psychotherapists, educators, he's laughing, authors, leaders, and innovators in the field of solution-focused brief therapy. They innovated the Diamond method of solution-focused brief therapy, which they'll be presenting for MHPO on Zoom January 20th, 2026, our first workshop of the year on Zoom. Save the date. Elliott is the founder of the Solution Focused Universe, the largest solution focused training organization in the world. Adam collaborates with Elliott as a researcher and educator, and they educate clinicians all around the world. And they've been doing so for about 15 years together. They're a dynamic duo. There's so much more I could say about them, but I'm going to leave it to them to share. I do first want to say, though, that I was introduced to solution-focused brief therapy 3 years ago. I received training from Adam and Elliott, online and in person, and it really turned my world upside down in the best possible way. Elliott and Adam, I'm just so glad to see you both here, connect with you again. And where are you right now? Where are you zooming in from?
Well, I live just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So that's where I am today.
Thank you.
I live in hell,
Mm.
but most people pronounce it Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Lots of unfortunate things happening there right now.
Yes.
Um, mhm. So I'm going to have you each introduce yourselves, share.
You just did such a great job.
Did I?
Yeah, you just introduced
Okay.
us well.
Okay, then
I don't know
done.
what else to say other than
Here
Adam and I
comes.
have we have a bit of a you've caught us at a time where our relationship is in a weird place because he's mean and I'm nice. And
Okay.
we've been doing this work together for a really long time,
Yeah.
and it is a joy. But I want to make it very clear: the only reason this all works is because I'm nice and he's mean. And if we were to if I gave Adam the same energy he gives me, then we wouldn't, we never would have lasted, right? So me being nice carries the day.
Okay, everybody who's watching this, I'll give you the real facts later.
I was just gonna say, anybody that has to declare that they're the nice one, you should probably question.
There
No,
you go.
I'm really only kidding. I working with Adam has been um one of the true joys and highlights of my life. And I don't know where I would be or what I'd be doing had I not had his friendship and professional collaboration. Um, so I think the only thing you left out of that introduction was like I just genuinely love him and I love working with him. And um, I honestly can't believe where we've gotten. And to be honest with you, it was never really a goal. Like when we met 15 years ago, over 15 years ago, we didn't like, hey, let's work together to create this thing. It was the most organically built thing in the world. It was literally like, let's keep talking. And then through the talking, let's do a research project. And then through the research project, let's do a training together. And then through the training together, let's keep doing trainings together. And then through that process, let's write a book. And then through that process,
There's one of them.
we start noticing things about solution focused brief therapy, and even the development of the diamond was a very organic thing. um Adam and Adam is a very like inquisitive confrontational person, and what I mean by that is like he's very comfortable. If I tell Adam, let's say everybody in the world says the sky is orange, And for the whole history of Earth, the sky is orange, the sky is orange. But nobody looked up. It was just everybody just said the sky is orange. Adam is the kind of person that'll look up and be like, the sky is blue, and how can I prove it? So over the years, we would inquire like, what is solution focused? How does it work? In the early days of our work, most people talked about solution focused brief therapy by what it wasn't. So when someone like Adam, who's very confrontational in his question, I don't mean combative or argumentative, but Adam will ask the hard questions. And for all of these years, people would say, like, Adam would ask, what is solution focused? Well, it's not a focus on the problem. Well, what is it? Well, it's not telling the clients what to do. Well, what is it? Well, it's not psychoeducation. Well, what is it? Well, it's not insight driven. Well, what is it? So we start constantly trying to figure out, like, what is this thing? And then one day and we had worked together for about a decade by this point, and um, I was doing a training in England, and somebody asked me what we thought solution focused brief therapy was. So I drew what we considered to be the flow chart of solution focused brief therapy, which looked like a diamond, the way that it was shaped. And I called Adam. I took a picture of it, and I was in England, so I'm several hours ahead of him. And if you know Adam, he wakes up at stupid o'clock. I always call it. I always say Adam woke up yesterday. Like, what time did Adam wake up?
If
Yesterday.
if that's true, Elliot goes to bed tomorrow.
That's that's totally fine. Totally fine. But Adam woke up yesterday. So there was a flip chart in the room. I'll never forget it. There was a flip chart in the room. I had drawn this thing that was basically the culmination of our work, drawn out for the first time. And I took a picture of it and I texted it to him. I said, Adam, I think this is it. Somebody in the audience said that looks like a diamond. I texted Adam, said, hey, look at this diamond diagram I just drew. Within a couple of hours, Adam had like turned the drawing into like a PowerPoint like slide, if you will, like a digital graphic. And we knew we had to, like, it was very clear, like that clarity we'd been chasing for over a decade is now right in front of us. And if you know the work Adam and I, like, we always share what we develop or share what we discover. So then like the conversation turned into like, how do we share this, and then launch into a book. So anyway, I say all that to say, this whole experience has been organic, and I can't believe I get to be a part of this journey because it's been pretty crazy.
What a
Yeah,
great story. Yeah.
I don't know if I could add much more, but I guess I think Elliot left out one piece, which is, yeah, I ask lots of questions and I'm really inquisitive. But he always let me ask him those questions. And regularly at the beginning of working together, one of the things that I would say, well, why do you do this? Why do you ask this question? And he would say regularly, I don't know. And I think it takes somebody really, really brave to say, I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
and so I would push a bit and I'd be like, well, that's not good enough. You can't just not know. And so, to his credit, he would say really regularly, okay, I'll go find out. And he would see like 40 clients a week, which is insane. But we would meet at that point, we were meeting once a week. And he would, for 40 hours, he would pay attention to a particular question of why do I do this? And he would regularly come back and he would say, I think I know. And so then he would say, I do it because of this. And then we would put it into practice and we'd say, does that always work? And I think that's one of the things that kind of pushed this work forward is that idea of always being willing to evaluate your work. We live in an era of evidence-based practice.
Hmm.
And typically, what we think of when we think of evidence-based practice is somebody's done some research out there and it's been shown to work with this population. So I can pick up that intervention and I can put it with this particular client. And I think that if that's how we actually think about psychotherapy or mental health services, that's probably not good enough because what that would lead us to is I'm just giving something to somebody that's been tested on somebody else. And I
Bingo.
think that it's our job, and I think Elliot was really, really good at doing this, of saying, I'm going to look at my work. I'm going to evaluate my work, and I'm going to figure out why I do what I do. And one of the things that we started to say back and forth all the time was we should be able to pause someone's session at any point and say, why did you do that? And they should know their work well enough to be able to say, I did it because of this. Um, and I think that when we get that comfortable with why we do what we do, then we can do it in a really masterful way. We can be flexible with the different people who come in. We can apply it differently with each person that comes in because we've mastered how to do it. And so that's one of the things I think that really has kind of pushed us to where we are is this desire to always know, why do we do this? Why do we say this? Why does this work with a particular client? And I think that's something that every clinician, regardless of what approach they use, should be able to do, because that's how we provide the best care. And from the very beginning, Elliot was really, really willing to look at his own work to say, I don't know, but I'm going to go figure it out. And it's led us to having a great understanding of why we do what we do.
I also would add to piggyback on something Adam just said is like in this evidence-based world, we spend a lot of time thinking what intervention works with what client type. And Adam and I's work has been kind of counter that idea because I think if you dig into research, it never really identifies that a therapy approach or a therapy technique is the thing that made the difference. It's always like the stance and the clinical confidence in the therapist. And I think what we're trying to do, very hard to do, is to get people to understand, stop putting your clients in boxes and trying to find what fits with them and just be that individual person's therapist. Like listen to that individual person, use that individual person's language and ideas. And if you can do that, your ability to be successful will drastically go up. But we're just so taught put people in a box and then find the thing that works with all the people in that box. And people are not like that. Like most of the people watching this video are probably from Ottawa, which I want to be able to say it. Like Adam, when you go to Canada, you realize that like they don't say Toronto, they say Toronto. And if you listen to Marion, she
Yep.
says Ottawa differently than I just said Ottawa. So I want to be able to say Ottawa like a proper Canadian. But um, if I told people, and this really bothers me, and it's something I'm very proud about our work. If I told people I did a research study and I know what to do with all people from Ottawa. I mean, that sounds ridiculous. I mean, that sounds utterly nuts. Like the people in from Ottawa are quite varied and quite diverse, and there's no way that I could think that any one thing, any one intervention, or any one strategy that I could do would work with all people from Ottawa. But so why do we accept that in therapy? Like I did a lot of research and I found this one thing that works well with people with depression or anxiety or from an addiction standpoint. Like it's asinine. And I think what works well with all people is connection. What works well with all people is hope. And in therapy, we don't study that. We just study like what's the technique that I could use with all people from Ottawa. And I'm like, that's just so ridiculous because we wouldn't do that in any other area of life, but we do it in therapy. Adam and I's work has always been counter to that. If it is true that hope and the stance we take towards our clients and our ability to relate to our clients is the thing that dictates change most often, then we should probably be teaching how to do that instead of the other thing, which there's actually no basis for doing.
That might have been more than you were banking on.
Oh no, this is awesome. You're just explaining everything so deeply and so well. And I mean that's what I love about the approach. It's about the stance and it's about helping the client, if I hope I'm saying this in the best possible way, helping the client tell you who they are so that you then can can be very specific on the way that you work with them. And I mean, I
I
just think
think
it's awesome.
to me, I think that's the magic, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what they're like. So I know some personal things about Marion because I've known her for a while, but I know Marion likes to play pickleball. And here is the fallacy of psychotherapy. Like, if you want to learn how to do therapy, like I'm about to say, then come to this event. Pay attention to what Adam says. Pay attention to what I say. Pay attention to what we teach and what we write. Because this, to me, is here's the fallacy of psychotherapy. So let's say Marion comes to my office and she's not in a good place. She's sad, anxious, depressed, whatever. And through her sadness, we do therapy. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever it is, some point into the therapy, she comes back to therapy. She says, I feel so much better. I feel so much better about life. And I feel so much better how I feel. I feel so much better. And then I say, Marion, what changed? And she said, I started playing pickleball. The fallacy of therapy is the therapist will be like, oh, so pickleball works with sadness. So then every client I see, I'm going to say, go play pickleball. Instead of trying to find the pickleball in every client's life. Because everybody has a pickleball, but it might not be pickleball for everybody. So we like the
Yeah.
fallacy of therapy is thinking that pickleball is the thing that mattered. So thus we have to suggest all of our clients play pickleball instead of realizing that's not what mattered. What mattered was like the love and passion Marion has for this sport. And I have to help people find the love and passion that they have for something else. And for another client, it might be cars. For another client, it might be hiking. I called Adam this past weekend where he was in Utah visiting family. I said, Adam, what are you doing? He said, I'm hiking. Adam, in 15 years, you ever heard me going hiking?
Only that one time in California,
And what did I say about it?
I almost died.
It was the day I almost died. So we have to counter that idea that like it's the technique that mattered because it's not. It's there was something underneath. Now, obviously, I'm using the silly example of pickleball, but like Marion really does enjoy pickleball, but there's something underneath it. It's not the pickleball. It's something else, and you have to be able to find what is that thing in each and every one of your clients. And if you can do that, then you're going to be very consistently successful in your work with your clients when you start thinking, oh, so pickleball helps people be happy. All right, so I'm going to suggest pickleball to all my clients, which is exactly what therapists do. We have these handouts. Oh, this handout works with depression. So we're going to do this handout, right? We have these like the strategy we try to implement with all of our clients instead of doing the actual work, which is finding what is that thing. Adam likes to go hiking. Adam likes to be outdoors. Marion likes to play pickleball. I like to go shopping for shoes, if you can't tell. But those are the things that you have to find in people, and most therapists just don't do that because we're taught to.
Yeah, we definitely weren't taught to. Yeah. What we were taught is to be the stance of knowing 100% sure. I just love that when you said believe believe in your clients, but don't believe them,
Yeah,
knowing
people
and
lie.
just trusting that there's so much to them, even though they don't see and feel it at the moment.
They lie all the time. Um, I mean, it's not a malicious or intentional lie, but
No.
we say stuff like, "Oh, I can't do that." Of course you can. There's a story. Um, there's a famous businessman named Jesse Itzler.
Yes.
He's a very successful businessman, and he ran an ultra marathon. Um, and you're supposed to run this ultra marathon. Um, which if you know me, you know I talk in stories often. But there's this guy. He ran an ultra marathon on team in four. So basically, you run, and when you get tired, one of the teammates picks up, and you run in fours. And this guy ran this ultra marathon by himself, no team. He just powered through it. And Jesse Itzler was like, I got to get to know that guy. So he invites him to come live at his house for a month. And he woke him up the next morning and he said, I need to see where you are. So I want you to do as many pull ups as you can. So the guy did like 6 pull ups and he collapsed. And he said, okay, take a minute and then jump up and do as many pull ups as you can. And this time he does like 3 and he fell off the bar. And he said, okay, take a minute and jump back up, and I want you to do as many pull-ups as you can. And he did one, and he's exhausted, and he said, I can't do any more. So what are we going to do next? And David Goggins says, what we're going to do next is we're not going anywhere till you do 100 pull-ups. And the guy said, I can't. And he said, we're not doing anything else till you do 100 more. So the guy would do one, and then he would do a lap around the room, and then he would do another one, but he eventually got to 100 pull-ups. And the Jesse Itzler said the lesson I learned was when I didn't think I could, I still could. There was more
Mm,
available. And he was like, I started wondering, what else have I left on the table? How much meat have I left on the bone and other things I was trying to accomplish in my life?
yeah.
And I think about that because like clients don't know what they're capable of. There's another story from an ultra marathon, and then I'm going to shut up because I know Adam has a lot to add. But there's a famous race in Australia. It's like a literally like a 250-mile race, and you have to run it. You have like 36, you have like 48 hours or 72 hours to run it or whatever it was. And this guy was a sheep farmer. It's a super famous story.
Yeah.
This guy was a sheep farmer and he was in his 60s. And one of his friends said, you should enter this race. So he does. And the top fitness athletes in the world, this happened in the early 80s, the top fitness athletes in the world joined this race, and the sheep farmer beat them all by 10 hours. And it was because he didn't know that you were allowed to stop and sleep. So when everybody else stopped to sleep, he just kept running because he thought the rules were you have to run the whole time. And the reason he was able to do that is as a sheep farmer, he had to chase his sheep all day long. So his stamina was really high and he just didn't know that you couldn't stop and sleep. And the power in that is if you don't know your limitations, you tend to go much further. And most people come into therapy really aware of their limitations, so much so that they lie to you. They say stuff like, I've never been happy. I'm incapable of joy. I can't get sober. Well, that's just someone paying way too much attention to their limitations. And when you do therapy in a way that helps them pay attention to their potential, and I don't mean to say that like that sounds like therapy to pay attention to your potential and your strengths, but I mean like if you truly pay attention to the abundant potential that you have, then you become capable of accomplishing so much more.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
For sure.
I think in that there's a couple of really important things for us as clinicians too. I think that we have typically been taught to do therapy from a limitation perspective. Um, right from the very beginning, we are taught to say, what brought you here? What problem do you have that brought you here? We are taught very quickly after that that we have to come up with some kind of diagnosis, that we need to be looking for um, maladaptive thoughts, or we have to be looking for symptoms, or we have to be. And so our perspective consistently has been reinforced over and over and over. Look for deficits. And so, just like sometimes our clients come in and they tell us, you know what, I can't do another pull up. We are taught to look at them as, oh, you're not capable of doing pull ups. And I think that when both people enter into that contract with the understanding of, we're both going to look at you as though you're incapable, then we just continue to see people who are incapable. And so the only thing that we have control of as clinicians is how we walk in the room. We can't impact how the client walks in the room. They might walk in and say, I can't do pull-ups, but we can very much impact what we think and how we walk in the room. And we can look at them as somebody who is capable of, okay, take a lap and then come back and do another pull-up. And I think that's one of the things about solution focused brief therapy that sometimes people have a misperception of is that oftentimes people say, oh, this is just a band-aid approach. This is for people who don't have very significant
Yeah.
problems, or this isn't. And even that description or that critique of the approach really highlights the stance that we walk in with, that stance that we have been reinforced with, and what we as a profession think therapy needs to be. And one of the things that I think Elliott's story really highlights is if we buy into that, if we think, oh, solution focused only works with minor problems, then we only try to apply it to people who are already good pull-up, people who do a lot of pull-ups. And so we don't try it with other people. But the story illustrates if we keep this stance throughout, anyone is capable of doing it. We might just need to be patient. We might just need to give them a little bit of time. We might just, and so the way that we have been taught to view people, but also the way that we've been taught what works and what doesn't work, is from a reductionistic perspective that basically says we look for deficiency. And I think one of the things that's so powerful about this approach is that we're looking for the complete opposite. We're looking for strength, we're looking for resilience. And when you look for strengths and resilience, not only does the client achieve way more than they thought they could achieve, but it even takes us by surprise when we say, look at how much
Yes.
they've accomplished.
Yes.
And so I think that's one of the things too, is that, and this oftentimes is that when we talk to clinicians around the world, one of the things that they will often say is, well, I just get so burned out from this, or how can you manage to listen to people's problems all day, every day? And I would say that's one of the things that this shift in perspective makes such a difference is I don't have to listen to people's problems. I can inquire about their abilities. I can inquire about their greatness. And when they live up to it, I get the vicarious benefit of saying, look at how amazing these people are. I get to be surprised and amazed just as much as they are, because we both get to witness how much they accomplish. And I think that's, again, so many professionals these days are saying, like, I'm just weighed down with all of this. And what I would say is, you don't have to be,
Yeah.
nor do they have to be.
Yeah. It's amazing. And on that note, I guess you've kind of answered one of my questions, which is what are the biggest misconceptions about
Hmm.
SFBT?
Yeah, I do think that misperception of it's only for minor issues. I think that's a major
That's a
misconception.
biggie. Yeah.
But I think one of the other things is a misconception of solution focused therapy is that it's for mild issues. And I know that's connected to what I just said, but sometimes people will say, well, you can't do this with people who have experienced trauma. You can't do this with people who are experiencing domestic violence. You can't, right? And one of the things that I would say, and this is going to be the researcher aspect of me, that comes out is the research consistently shows that solution focused brief therapy works. And it works with, if you want, I can show you meta analyses that have been done across the globe. And it works with as many cultures as we have applied it to. It works with as many presenting problems as we have applied it to. Most recently, I was working with a guy in Bolivia, and he did solution focused interviews with indigenous Bolivians. Um, and he compared, and they were doing trauma stories. So one group, they just told their trauma, and they were able to like experience telling their trauma in a really safe place, and they got better. But another group got solution focused brief therapy where they were asked questions about their strengths and their resources and how much they had learned and grown because of their experiences. And the improvement from a solution focused perspective with an indigenous population who had never experienced therapy ever was off the chart. They just completely got better.
Wow.
And and so whether it's indigenous people in Bolivia or another study that we're doing EEG headsets with clients in England, who are from a modernistic society, who are from, a and and it works. And we have done that EEG study with people who have autism, with people who have experienced ADHD, and every time they say that was extremely helpful. and I would recommend this to anybody else. And so across the
Cool.
globe, we know that it works with all kinds of different issues. And I think that's the thing that I would say is people think this is limited in its applicability, and I would say we haven't found the limits yet.
That is awesome. That talk about rewarding. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other misconceptions?
I think there are a lot. I think there are lots of them, and
Yeah.
I think I think the biggest misconception people have, well, one of the biggest misconception people have is that it's the approach and not them. And what I mean by that is we tend to believe that like I can go to a 3 hour workshop,
Yeah.
listen to Elliott or Adam or whomever talk about a therapy approach, and it's like now I know how to do that therapy approach. But
Yes.
therapy is a skill, and you have to work to master that skill. And it's not just like some knowledge you upload in your head, and it's like now I have the knowledge. It's a skill that you pragmatically practice and you get better at. Um, and I think the misconception is believing that like once I've been trained, I'm trained. But you really have to work at it and like hone the language necessary. I mean, therapy is an odd thing because all we have is language, and we use language to impact like someone else's life. So if you're not a master of language, you have no opportunity to be real successful as a clinician. So it's not enough just to collect a bunch of techniques. You have to master the language associated with a particular stance. And I think the big misconception is like once I know like the theory of solution focused therapy, then I know how to practice it. But that is just so flawed. Again,
Yeah.
that doesn't hold water in any other area of life, just therapy. It's the only area where we do this. Like, I could teach you the theory on how to hit a baseball. I could teach you about the physics of hitting a baseball, and I could teach you who created the art of hitting a baseball. I could teach you the 10 names that were best at hitting a baseball. But then if I said, okay, now that you know all of that, let's go to a field and I'm going to throw pitches at you 90 miles an hour so you can hit them. You're not any better at hitting them. And that's true at like all walks of life. Um, but there's something about therapy where we think if I know the theory, then I can skip the practice part and just know how to do it. I don't understand that. So um, we have to really get to mastery. And for anybody that attends this workshop, I hope it's the beginning of a journey. Like it's not going to be like I listened to Elliott and Adam for however long, and now I know how to do it. I hope it's like I listened to Elliott and Adam, and now I'm on a journey towards mastery. And that journey is a beautiful journey because it involves you connecting with and impacting people's lives. But it's a lifelong journey because you're going to continuously getting better at it.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because it seems very simple, but it's complex, and I receive ongoing training and consultation. And it is exciting because you can see yourself getting better over time. But yeah, it's definitely the practice, the experience, and it's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's amazing. And like during so I really Adam knows I love Canada. I really love Canada. I'm not just saying that because
He loves
people there,
Toronto, especially.
especially
I was gonna
actually
say he's
from
been trying to
Ontario.
get me to move to Toronto with him for a
That's
decade.
Hey,
true. That's absolutely true.
great.
I love all of Ontario. My favorite cities in the world are London, Johannesburg, and Toronto. But if you ask me what's my favorite piece of earth, it's the entire province of Ontario. I love it.
Right on.
And during one of my trips there, going to Ottawa, um, it was an interesting experience for me because I tried foods I had never tried before. And Adam, I learned something about that part of like the Ottawa slash Montreal place. Um, they take bagel making very seriously. And in Montreal in particular, they say that their bagels are better than the bagels in New York. And New York is like super famous for bagels. So when I was in Montreal, I went to a bagel shop, and there was a guy in there, Adam. He must have been 142 maybe, 100 like this really old guy. And he is making bagel, and like there's a huge window and you can see in the back, and he is, slopping through making bagels. So being an American, I just assume that New York bagels are the best bagels in the world. And the Canadian person who brought me to this shop was like, no, our bagels are better than New York. And I tasted it and it was absolutely delicious. And I said to the cashier, I said, how long has that guy been back there making bagels? And they said 50 years.
Wow.
And you think to yourself, like, how good is he at doing this? Because he's been doing it like so much, to the point where like he's mastered the art of making bagels, which is why this is like this really popular spot in the city, and people love going there. And I think to myself, like, how many clinicians learned a thing and then was like, all right, I know how to do that. And then they didn't put in the hours like that guy did to like master bagel making. I think that's a crucial step that most people miss. And I think part of the reason they miss it is because it's a lot of work. Like, oh, I don't have the hours put in. But like it's the most joyous work. Like it's not work like, all right, I gotta go put on my hard hat and go, you know, in the hot sun. It's like, I don't know, I can't even describe it, but it's the most invigorating work ever. And Adam said it earlier.
Yeah.
Our work is not about going to an office and listening to people's problems all day. Like that would drain you. It's about going and spending time with like the most inspiring version of people and paying attention to what makes them so amazing. And that kind of leaks onto you. And all of a sudden you're like, why'd I get to the end of my day and I have energy? Well, it's because you spend a lot of time focus on people's beautiful parts of their journey.
Yep. Absolutely. And, for those listening, we don't go around giving compliments. We ask questions that have the client respond about all their strengths, all their resources, all their, gifts and talents. And actually, I had a client one time accuse me. He goes, I know what you're doing. I know what you were doing last session. You were complimenting me. And I said, well, actually, you were complimenting yourself. It had such a massive impact on him. It got him emotionally, at the time. And then I just said, well, yeah, he was like, this is what you're doing to me. Well, I didn't do anything. I just asked questions. So, so yeah, it's very invigorating when you can see a person light up to and connect with all their gifts.
Mhm.
Totally. Um, I'm gonna, let's see, ask two more questions. And one is, what do practitioners find the most challenging about solution-focused brief therapy?
Uh, I, I'll take a stab, but Elliot might have a different answer than me. Um, I think the thing they find the most challenging is what Elliot just kind of alluded to, which is kind of the mastery of the language. All we have to work with is client's language. And we take that language really, really seriously. We believe that every question that you ask should go through two filters. The first filter is it should be immediately connected to what the client wants to get out of this process. We call that a desired outcome. Every question should be linked to the desired outcome. And the second filter it goes through is it has to contain the client's language, which means I have to listen really, really carefully. It means I have to pick up the most meaningful language. It means that I have to ask questions that help the client to describe what they really want in tiny little details. And it's hard. I would be lying to you if I said, yeah, you could pick this up and it would be easy and it requires work. It requires a high level of skill to listen for the right words, to pick up the right words, to use the right words and the kinds of questions. Um, so whether people have been doing it for a week or 10 years, um, people still work at it. They still find it difficult to do that. But I think
Yeah.
that uh, that's where the magic occurs,
Yeah.
is when clients hear their own words given back to them, and those words are connected to the kind of person they want to be. People become so enthusiastic about it. People become so invigorated to move in that direction. Change happens quickly. All of the research that we've done, in essence, keeps saying change happens in about 50% less time than other modes of therapy. And why is that? Because people get excited and they want to change. So, what's the hardest? I would say really honing in on that language and using it really, really well.
Thank you.
I agree with Adam. I think that is the hardest. So I'm going to give you the what I consider to be second hardest, and that is restraint. I think most therapists operate from
Mm.
the position of expertise, and it's
Mhm.
hard for them to resist the urge to give client advice, suggestions, and feedback. And when you practice in this approach, you have to avoid doing those things so that the client can go on their own journey of self-discovery, guided by your questions and the work that you do. And the moment you start giving suggestions, i.e., telling the client what to do, you interrupt that pattern. So I think for so many of us, because we were trained to be the expert in therapy, I think it is very, very hard for a lot of clinicians new to this approach to resist that urge and allow people to go on their own journey.
Yes, 100%. And I was going to say something, but I'm going to skip it.
That's restraint.
That's
That is
restraint.
restraint.
Hey, so I really love what you've got planned for the workshop, and I'm just going to ask, what's the one thing that you hope participants will take away from the workshop?
Confidence.
Okay.
Uh, I think, yeah, again, I think Elliot's answer is the right answer. So I'll give you the second thing that I hope. Um, I hope they take away joy. Um,
Yeah.
this is a work that should bring us joy, should bring clients joy. Um, so I hope people get to walk away with some joy.
And on that note, a final word about your, some of the language you use about this work being, um, or should I say, clinicians, you describe the clinicians as heart healers.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we need to stop thinking of our work as problem solving, because we're not really solving people's problems. We're healing their wounded hearts. And if you think about it, whatever brought people into therapy, it's not the depression, it's the wounded heart you have from the depression interfering with your relationship or your parenting. It's the wounded heart you have with your depression stopping you from being the type of worker or entrepreneur that you want to be. So I think what we need to start understanding as psychotherapists is we're not problem solvers. It's actually not about the depression. It's about healing people's wounded hearts.
And on that note, I want to say thank you both so much for this really wonderful, powerful interview. And I look forward to seeing you both again soon and seeing you January 20th.
Seeing, and it's
We're
going to be
looking forward to it.
digital. Adam, I wish that we were there. They have a pine drink in Ottawa that I had. That I would try to find that drink for you. There's a hot dog place in Ottawa that I found that I would take you to. I know you don't mind a good hot dog. Um, and it's a beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. So I'm sad that we won't be going to physical Ottawa, but
Mm.
it'll be nice to be seeing a bunch of Ottawans
Yes.
via Zoom.
Thanks so much,
Yeah.
you guys. Bye for now.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.